So, a couple months ago, I tried to 100% Pikmin 3 without blue Pikmin, which honestly turned out to be pretty easy. Since you unlock them so late in the game, there's almost nothing for them to actually do. They're only needed once to advance the main story, and only 9 out of 66 fruits actually require them. And when I say require, I mean like totally don't require them at all. With some winged Pikmin and a glitch that makes them invincible, you can make blue Pikmin completely obsolete. But could we do this with another Pikmin type? What if we tried doing this with yellows? Would the outcome be the same? Yellow Pikmin are way more prominent than blues in Pikmin 3. They are the third Pikmin type you unlock, and they're used for a bunch of things, like making bridges, fighting bosses, and most importantly, breaking down electric fences, which happen to be 100% indestructible without yellows. And guess what? There are fruits behind these fences, and there are also bosses that can't be damaged without yellows. Hell, there's even a whole section where Brittany has to break out of a cave with only yellow Pikmin. So, would it be possible to 100% the game without them? Well, almost. It's so close to being possible that it's absolutely agonizing. I'm Dan from Press A, and this is how many times are yellow Pikmin needed to 100% Pikmin 3? Guys, me and Patricia have broken up. If you want to take my side in the divorce, please like this video. Thank you. So, we start day 1 and are immediately greeted by the one thing we can't interact with: yellow Pikmin. Unfortunately, they are required to progress through this little tutorial section with Charlie. You have to walk up to this can, you have to whistle them, and you have to throw them. You really don't have a choice in the matter. But at the same time, I don't really know if this counts as using them. All we're really doing is randomly throwing them in the air. We're not actually using them to accomplish a goal. We're just literally throwing them. Now mind you, we are forced to throw them to progress, so it is kind of a gray area. But I'm leaning on the side of this not counting towards the challenge. What definitely will count though is what we have to do next. There are 2 rows of mushrooms blocking our path to the Phosbat's cave, which we have to use our yellow Pikmin to destroy. You can't squeeze through them, and for some reason, Charlie is just unable to punch on day 1, so destroying them ourselves is not gonna work. Fortunately for us though, there is something we can do to avoid this, and it's a trick commonly used in the double Charlie % speedrun of Pikmin 3. Yes, that's a real thing. By climbing up this route with Charlie, you can walk around this rock and get out of bounds. Once out of bounds, all we have to do is walk around the outside of the level, then drop down right before the entrance of the cave. But there's one major problem with this. We can't turn the camera to actually do the trick unless we break down the first set of mushrooms. When you pass the first set of mushrooms, this prompt telling you can move the camera shows up on screen. This in turn unlocks your camera so you can rotate it freely. So, without breaking these mushrooms, we can't rotate the camera. And if we can't rotate the camera, we're essentially doing a very hard trick completely blind. Which is not something I want to try. But guess what? It turns out I was lying. Because you can turn the camera without breaking down these mushrooms. Like, look, you can see the mushrooms are still up and I'm turning the camera. The problem is, I have no idea how I did it. I was alt-tabbed out of my totally legitimate Nintendo Switch, actually watching a video on how to do this out-of-bounds trick, and then when I came back, I was just able to turn the camera. However, this was my very first attempt, so I didn't even know you couldn't turn the camera. I just assumed this was the way it was, which wasn't a big deal until I tried the trick for like an hour, got frustrated, then turned the game off, not realizing at all what I had just done. I had been gifted by the gods the ability to turn the camera, and I just threw it in the trash. When I booted up the game on the next day and couldn't turn the camera, I was really confused. I could have sworn I was able to the day before. So I watched the footage back and yeah, I was. Again, I just didn't know why. I thought maybe I had walked far enough into the mushrooms that I had somehow hit the trigger for the camera, but trying to replicate this again yielded me no results. I had no idea how I had unlocked the camera, and I was done trying to figure it out. So I broke down the 2 rows of mushrooms with my yellow Pikmin and finished off Charlie's tutorial, bringing our total number of uses up to 2, but only tentatively. Clearly, this is possible. We just have to figure out what the hell's going on. So we'll revisit it later in the video and hopefully bring that number back down to 0. But for right now, we need to soldier on and try a little bit harder to beat this game without any yellows. Which is exactly what I do. I finish off Elf's tutorial, then collect the strawberry, lemon, and defeat the Maudad, granting us the dragon fruit. All without the help of Yellow Pikmin. Which really isn't impressive at all, because Yellow Pikmin aren't unlocked yet, so we couldn't even use them if we wanted to. But that's about to change, because Yellow Pikmin are about to be unlocked, and it's going to be the first major roadblock of this challenge. So normally, when you first arrive in the distant tundra, you need to use Yellow Pikmin to help break Brittany out of this cave. The game literally forces you to do this, as it's the only Pikmin type available while you're in there. You're supposed to pluck these yellows, turn on this light, and then push down this ball, which will give you an exit out of the cave. But we won't be doing any of that. We won't even be touching a single Yellow Pikmin. If you run up against this wall with Brittany, she will slowly climb up it. And if you do it long enough, you can get her out of bounds. Now you can run against this wall to get across the gap, make your way over this route, and hit the loading zone to exit the cave. This allows us to leave the cave without the use of a single Yellow Pikmin. And it also means the yellow onion is off limits to us for the rest of this run. Which is perfect because we can't use it anyways. But we aren't out of the woods yet, because immediately upon leaving the cave, we hit another roadblock. This massive broken bridge. Normally, you're supposed to go around the distant tundra and find 4 different piles of bridge pieces, which will allow you to fix the bridge. Now, without Yellow Pikmin, we have access to 3 out of these 4 piles, but the pile behind this electric gate, we can't get to. We haven't really talked about it too much, but these electric fences are invulnerable to any type of damage that isn't Yellow Pikmin. Bomb rots won't damage them, rock Pikmin won't damage them, hell, even the invulnerability glitch I used to break down this underwater gate in the blue Pikmin video won't damage them. Literally, nothing except for Yellow Pikmin can hurt these gates. So, if we see one, we have to find another way around it. And luckily for us, there's a way around this one. Normally, there's 2 ways into this area behind the electric gate. The electric gate, obviously, and the entrance to the Phosphat's cave. But we can't really get to the cave entrance without breaking down the gate first. You normally break down the gate, then push this ball to make an entrance to the cave. Then you can make your way through the cave, defeat the Phosphat, and push down this box to give yourself another access point to the cave. The problem is, you can't really push down this box unless you've been to the cave first. And we can't go through the cave first because this electric gate is blocking our path. So you would think this would cause us to have to use some Yellow Pikmin, but it doesn't, because this game is broken as fuck. If we walk up this wall near the entrance of the cave, we can get ourselves out of bounds again. Now, we just have to walk around some roots, clip into this one, and then we can freely walk around the out of bounds area. If we take a right up here and then head towards the river, we can fall into it and clip into this rock. Now, we have to carefully walk forward, making sure not to go too far left, which would make us fall into a bottomless void, or too far right, which would make us clip out of the rock. Once we're past the river, we can run forward, which will make us fall into the void and spawn us right behind the bag. Now, we can come over with Elf, throw some Pikmin up there, and push the bag down with Brittany. Which now gives us access to those bridge pieces, which we're not going to collect quite yet, and the boss of the level who we can actually beat without Yellow Pikmin. Normally, to defeat the Phosphat, you have to turn on lights around his arena with Yellow Pikmin, which will allow you to then do damage to him. Usually, you can't damage him any other way. But when I did my rock-only run of Pikmin 3, I learned if you use rock Pikmin, it'll deal a small amount of damage to him. And if you're patient, you can use that small amount of damage to just flat out kill him, which allows us to save Charlie and grab the fruit, all without having to turn on any lights or use yellows at all. After we leave the cave, I grab the strawberry, grapes, orange, and lime, again, all without the help of Yellow Pikmin. The next day was a super easy day. We started off by defeating the Mirror Slug, then went around the tropical wilds collecting 9 pieces of fruit. The Pocked Airhead, Dapper Blob, Crimson Banquet, Lesser Mockbottom, Dawn Pustules, Face Wrinkler, Dream Drop, and Delectable Bouquet, all of which were easy to obtain without yellows. So easy in fact that it's barely worth mentioning. But don't worry, because the next level, the Twilight River, is not going to be so kind to us. To progress in the Twilight River, you need to find 3 piles of bridge pieces, build this bridge with them, and then save the winged Pikmin. Unfortunately though, 2 out of these 3 piles need Yellow Pikmin to access. There's this pile that's locked behind another electric gate, and this one sitting on this high ledge, which requires Yellow Pikmin to turn on this light so that the flower bridge grows, giving you access to the pile. Now obviously, we can't do either of these things, so we're gonna have to forego building this bridge altogether. Instead, we're gonna perform a trick called Winged Onion Early. If we walk over to this corner with Charlie and Brittany and hold on to Brittany by pressing A, we can press the B button while still holding on to her and clip her into the wall. Now that she's in the wall, we can use the dismiss button to push her off into the void, which will spawn her up on this lily pad. This now gives us complete access to the Winged Onion without having to build the bridge at all. The rest of the day was spent collecting some more fruit, which included the Lesser Mockbottom, Dust Pustules, and a couple of Juicy Gaggles. I actually even found a way past the electric gate from earlier, which allowed us to collect this Dapper Blob. All I had to do was take a ride on these lily pads and then throw Brittany in between these 2 rocks. Then I threw some wings and rots over, broke open the crystal encasing the fruit, and brought it back with winged Pikmin. I was worried they were going to take it back towards the electric gate, but they didn't. They actually just took it right over these rots because winged Pikmin are absolutely broken in this game. The rest of the Twilight River went off without a hitch. We built the big bridge, defeated the Scornet Maestro, and collected some more fruit. But this electric gate in the second half of the level did cause us some issues. Beyond this gate are 2 fruits, the Blonde Imposter and the Insect Condo. Now, actually getting these fruits and collecting them is pretty easy. All we have to do is use the lily pad to bypass the gate. But bringing the fruits back to the ship, now that's a problem. Since the gate is still up, the Pikmin want to take it another route back to the ship, which is fine because there is another route back, but the problem is, it leads back to the bridge we weren't able to build earlier. Remember the one with the 2 piles we needed Yellow Pikmin for? Well, it turns out we have no choice. We have to build it. Like, just look at this. It looks like the winged Pikmin can carry it over the bridge, but they can't. They're stuck. Luckily, now that we actually have winged Pikmin, building the bridge isn't too much of an issue. To get the ones behind the electric fence, we can use the same strat as before, where we throw a captain and some wings on this rock, then get them to carry the pieces back. For the ones on this high ledge, we can skip growing the flowers altogether and just charge our winged Pikmin at the pieces. Because, like I said before, wings are completely busted. But yeah, with the bridge now built, we had basically collected every fruit in the level. All that was left were a couple fruits underwater that we needed blue Pikmin for. Speaking of blue Pikmin, we unlocked some in the Garden of Hope on day 6. We also collected a bunch of fruits. This strawberry, 2 acid shots, a lesser mock bottom, a dream drop, citrus lump, scaly custard, lime, grapefruit, and the wayward moon after we defeated the Mireclops. All of these fruits can be obtained quite easily without yellows, so we're just gonna skip over all of them. And this trend is gonna continue, because now that we have blue Pikmin, we headed back to the Twilight River and grabbed the Crunchy Deluge, Citrus Lump, and Tremendous Sniffer. We also hit up the Tropical Wilds and grabbed ourselves the Starfruit, Cherry, Acid Shock, Lime, Banana, this thing, Peach, and Scaly Custard. The Scaly Custard usually requires you to throw yellows on this scale, which will raise up another one, allowing you to get a captain on this higher area, but we can actually just skip all of that and use winged Pikmin to grab the fruit. Finally, we went to the Distant Tundra and grabbed the Cherry, Lemon, Dapper Blob, Starfruit, and Kiwi. I thought the kiwi was going to be a problem because we didn't break out of this cave properly the first time, but it turns out you can just head back in the cave even though the wall is still there. Now, we couldn't actually leave the cave while the wall was still up, but now I had Pikmin there that weren't yellow, so breaking it down wasn't a problem. Now, you're probably thinking, this challenge is going suspiciously well. This actually seems kind of easy. This is so unlike you, Press A. What's going on? Well, it kind of has been easy, but that's because I saved all the hard fruits for last. And it's mostly because I had no idea how to get them. The fruits we still had left were the kiwi inside Shaggy Longlegs, the juicy gaggle inside this Medusal Slurker, the cherries, grapes, dream drop, grapefruit, and orange all locked behind this gate in the distant tundra, the grapes and starfruit locked behind this gate in the Garden of Hope, and this pocked airhead also locked behind another gate and also in the Garden of Hope. All of these fruits had one thing in common. They all required yellow Pikmin in some way. And not just required yellow Pikmin, most of them were behind electric fences. The same electric fences that are completely indestructible without yellows. So all of these fruits were going to be very hard, if not impossible to get. But let's look at the first fruit, the kiwi inside Shaggy Longlegs, so you can get a better idea of what's going on. So, Shaggy Longlegs resides in this arena in the Tropical Wilds, which is only accessible through this electric gate, which we obviously can't get through. Now, the weird thing about this fight is that Shaggy will randomly walk over this wall to the arena on the other side whenever he feels like it. And the arena on the other side is an area we can access. So, if we were somehow able to start the fight and get him to walk over to the second arena, we would be able to kill him and get the fruit. But the problem is, starting the fight is gonna be impossible. To actually trigger the fight, you need to walk under him in the middle of the arena. An arena that we can't enter. So, for all intents and purposes, this fruit is impossible to get. At least, that's what I thought until I went to the Pikmin speedrunning Discord, and a runner there named Sbudiver sent me this video. Now, if you don't know what's happening here, let me break it down for you. Basically, Sbudiver gets out of bounds by rolling off this log near the gate, then he has Brittany walk to the second arena we can access, and then throw some Pikmin on this wall separating the two. Then he swaps back to Charlie and uses gyro controls, which he uses to whistle his Pikmin on top of the wall so they can fly through the middle of the arena and trigger Shaggy Longlegs to fall down. So, I did the exact same thing as him. I went to the top of the tree stump, rolled off out of bounds, put my Pikmin on this wall, then whistled them over to trigger Shaggy. At that point, all I had to do was wait until he walked over to the second arena so I could kill him and take the fruit. So after that was done, I decided to tackle the next fruit on our list, the juicy gaggle inside the Medusal Slurker. This fruit resides in this tree stump, a tree stump that you can only access from this entrance here. Do you want to know how you're supposed to get to this entrance? You have to use the scale we avoided earlier, the one you're supposed to use yellows to activate. You're supposed to throw them on this mushroom thing, which will bounce them onto the scale. But unfortunately for us, no other Pikmin type can reach this mushroom. I tried with every single type, and none of them worked. You can throw wings on top of it, but wings don't bounce off the mushroom, they just kind of float there. They also don't activate scales, so it would be pointless anyways. I also just tried throwing my captains up there, but no matter where I threw from, it never seemed like I had enough height. No matter what I did, I just couldn't get them up there. But while I was trying this, something kept nagging at me. I felt like I had done this before, or I had seen someone else do it or something. I can almost picture it in my head, but it felt like a dream. I was almost positive there was a way to get up there, but I just couldn't remember how. But then Sbudiver reminded me, hey Dum Dum, it was in one of your videos. Yeah, when Ty made this video about weird Pikmin 3 speedruns, he covered blue juice %, a speedrun where you try to get blue juice as quickly as possible. And one of the tricks in that run involves you walking up this route with the captain and throwing another one onto the higher area we were trying to get to. The answer was so simple and easy and had been on our channel the entire time. So I grabbed Brittany, walked up the route with Alf, used motion controls to throw her on the high ledge, entered the stump from above, killed the Medusal Slorker, and nabbed ourselves the juicy gaggle, leaving us with only 8 more fruits to collect. But boy, let me tell you, these last 8 fruits were horrible. To show you what I mean, let's look at the 5 fruits still trapped in the Phosphat's cave. So, remember this gate that caused us some major issues entering the Phosphat's cave earlier? Well, it's about to cause us some more issues, because behind this gate are 5 different fruits. The cherry, dream drop, grapes, citrus lump, and grapefruit. They are all trapped behind this electric fence. And I know what you're thinking. Why don't you just have the Pikmin take the fruits back through the entrance where the bag is? Well, we could do that if it wasn't for this flower bridge. You're normally supposed to light up this cavern to build this flower bridge. Then you can make your way to fight the Phosphat and push down the bag we knocked down earlier. Unfortunately though, if you do not build this bridge, the Pikmin will not take the fruits this way. You would think the winged Pikmin could just fly the fruits over this gap, but look, even with the grapes that are right beside this bridge, they won't do it. If this bridge isn't built, they will just bring all the fruits toward the electric gate. All the fruits except for the grapes. For some reason, they're programmed to bring the grapes down this slide. They normally bring bridge pieces down, which happens to exit on the other side of the fence. And while that's great for the grapes, it still leaves us with 4 fruits stuck behind this gate. And unlike the Dapper Blob in the Twilight River, the winged Pikmin can't fly these fruits over the walls. They just kind of circle in front of the gate and do nothing. There was basically nowhere for them to go, and I couldn't do anything about it. I was completely out of ideas. So I did something I really didn't want to do. I had to use Yellow Pikmin. I decided to grow the flower bridge in the cave so the Pikmin would take the fruits back that way. And in doing so, I was greeted with maybe one of the weirdest glitches in Pikmin history. When you light this lamp in a normal playthrough, this cutscene showing the Phosphat getting stunned by the light will play. But if you kill the Phosphat, then light this lamp, the game has no idea what to do and just has a heart attack. It's super weird and hilarious, but it doesn't really help us out. And something else that doesn't really help us out is building this bridge apparently, because even with this bridge built, the Pikmin still won't take the fruits this way. So I had just used Yellow Pikmin in a challenge I'm not supposed to use Yellow Pikmin in, and it didn't even help us out. The only option left was to break down that gate and bring the fruits through it. So I ended the day with plans of breaking down that gate tomorrow and finally getting those fruits. But when I landed and made my way over to the gate, my eyes saw something I couldn't believe. The grapefruit had teleported to the other side of the gate. I was shocked. Now, if you've seen my other videos, you'll know that I've used a mechanic called waypoint resetting to do the exact same thing in Pikmin 1, where you basically put a part in a place it's not supposed to be and force the game to reset its position to somewhere else, usually on the other side of a gate. But I had no idea this existed in Pikmin 3. I had no idea this was even a thing. So I checked with the speedrunning Discord, and yeah, they confirmed it. Waypoint resetting exists in Pikmin 3, and it works with all the fruits in the cave. So all I had to do was bring the fruits as close to the gate as possible, then end the day and come back, and they should all be on the other side of it. However, this was easier said than done. The Pikmin won't just bring the fruits to the gate themselves. You kind of have to force them to do it. And by force them, I mean wait for them to circle towards the gate with the fruit, then whistle them off of it, then rinse and repeat until the fruit is close enough to the gate. It's very slow and takes forever, but it is possible moving fruits like this. At least until you get to a certain point. When you get close enough to the gate, the Pikmin will stop circling towards it and will actually start moving backwards. Since I couldn't move the fruit forward anymore, I decided to end the day and see if the fruit was close enough to get a waypoint reset. And unfortunately, it wasn't. It just wasn't close enough. I somehow needed to get these fruits closer to the gate, and I had no idea how. That was until this happened. Yeah, the snowballs from cannon beetles can push fruits. All I had to do was line the fruit up properly, then have a cannon beetle shoot at it. Each snowball that hit moved it closer and closer to the gate, until it was literally touching it. At that point, I ended the day to see if the waypoint reset would work. And it did. The fruit was close enough that it teleported to the other side of the gate. I was able to do it with the other two fruits as well, which meant we had somehow collected every fruit in the Phosphat's cave without Yellow Pikmin. Oh, and I should mention, to actually get the orange to the gate in the first place, you have to charge winged Pikmin at it, then once it falls down into the flowers, put any other type on it and watch them carry it out. So, with those fruits now collected, we only had 3 fruits remaining. The grapes and starfruit locked behind these 2 electric fences, and the pocked airhead locked behind this one. The first one I attempted was the 2 fruits. My plan was to throw a captain onto one of these higher ledges, then throw them over one of the gates. But every ledge I tried just seemed a little bit too high. Even this one that the Pikmin normally walk down was just a bit too high for a throw. It seemed like Nintendo really didn't want anyone getting these fruits without breaking down these gates first. It seemed like getting onto these ledges was impossible. That was until I found this video by PikminFan123, who actually attempted this very same challenge 2 years ago. And when he was trying to get these exact same fruits, he found a pretty cool glitch. Yeah, by getting damaged by the blowhog at the same time he threw, he was somehow able to get a captain up on the high ledge. He theorized that getting damaged while throwing allowed his captain to clip through an invisible wall and land on the ledge, which isn't entirely true. You can see here in this screenshot showing the invisible walls in Pikmin 3 that there aren't actually any invisible walls guarding this ledge. What's actually happening here is when a captain gets damaged while being thrown, they almost get like knocked back or something, which ends up making them fly further and higher, allowing them to make it on the ledge. You can see here, I bait the blowhog into firing with this one red Pikmin, then throw a captain through the flames, which damages them and causes them to be thrown way further. All I did then was throw another captain up there as well, then threw one over the gate, threw some Pikmin up here, and got both the starfruit and the grapes, which the Pikmin were able to bring down the same way I threw them up. Which now left us with the final fruit in the game, the pocked airhead. And I'm gonna be real with you guys. With our current knowledge about this game, this fruit is impossible to get. The area where the pocked airhead is located only has one entrance, and it's blocked off by this electric gate. Now, actually getting in there is pretty easy. All you have to do is throw 2 captains on this rock, then throw one on this wall. At that point, you can throw some Pikmin up there as well and dig up the fruit. The problem is though, this fruit is impossible to get out. Just like in the Distant Tundra, the winged Pikmin fly the fruit directly towards the gate. But unlike in the Distant Tundra, we can't waypoint reset the fruit to the other side. It's impossible, and I can prove it. Friend of the channel and Pikmin 3 modder Tong provided us with this picture of the gate we waypoint reset all those fruits through earlier. But what's special about this picture is that it shows us all the waypoint nodes surrounding the gate. These are the nodes the game chooses when resetting a fruit to a new location. As you can see here, there's a big one right in the middle of the arena that our fruits kept resetting to if we weren't close enough to the gate. But if we look over here, we can see another waypoint node on the other side of the gate. The way the game chooses which node to reset to is simply what node is closest to the fruit itself. So when we brought the fruit halfway to the gate, the game reset it to the big node because that's what it was closest to. But when we brought it right up against the gate, the game reset it to the node on the other side because it was closest to that one. So now that we know this, let's take a look at the waypoint nodes for the pocked airhead. At first glance, it seems pretty similar. There's a big node in the middle of the area and one outside the gate. But if we take a closer look, we can see this node right by the gate, but on the inside. This node right here is what stops the fruit from waypoint resetting. Since it's on the inside of the gate, the fruit will always be closer to this node, and therefore always reset to it. If we go back to the distant tundra, you can see there isn't a middle node like this. There's only the big one and the one outside the gate. That's why it's actually possible there. But back in the Garden of Hope, this one little node stops this from happening. If this node didn't exist, we could 100% Pikmin 3 without yellows. But since it does, we can't. The only way we can get this fruit is if we break down this fence and bring it through the gate. It is the only time in Pikmin 3 we need to use yellows. Unless you want to count the tutorial as well. Speaking of the tutorial, we should actually head back there because I figured out how I was able to move the camera back on day 1. After I finished this challenge, I was still really confused about what happened with the whole camera thing. So I reached out to Pikmin 3 scholar Drought Ender and asked him if he knew what happened. And he did. He explained to me that you can move the camera in the tutorial just by walking along the back wall in the starting area. It sounded so simple and so stupid that I almost didn't believe it. But it works. I even tried it myself to make sure. Turns out, I had just accidentally done it when I first started the challenge and had no idea. But yeah, it 100% works. And since it works, it means doing the trick to get Charlie out of bounds is completely viable as well. Which means we don't have to use yellows to break down these mushrooms. So literally, the only time in the game you need yellows is when you have to randomly throw them in the tutorial and when you have to break down the gate to grab the pocked airhead. 2 times. That's it. And really, it's only one because let's be honest, tutorials don't count. Anyways, that's it for me guys. I hope you enjoyed this one and I will catch you in the next video. This video was made possible through the support of our amazing patrons. I want to give a special shout out to Rebecca Lyons, Leigh Burb, Puddles Megan, Liam Helt, Nice Gamer Musics, Serena Bliss, TXCS_14. Blue Pikmin is the best Pikmin, and if you say otherwise, then Luby will eat your soul. Also, this is a completely real name, and Koi Koi 13.